That's the introductions out of the way. Hello, everybody. Hope we're all good and the energy levels are still high, even though we are getting towards the end of the day. So we are about to dive into why it's so critical to understand and act upon the implications of a digital future in order to prepare for it from a cybersecurity perspective and ultimately lay the foundations of a stable and secure cyberspace for future generations. Now, I have a brilliant bunch of esteemed panelists to my left who are very well versed to talk in this area and divulge their expertise while navigating through the current progress of emerging technologies like quantum computing, AI, and the metaverse, for example, and why we need to develop mechanisms and policies to maximize the benefits and opportunities presented by these future technologies. So first things first, hi guys. How are you? Adam, Shantae, and Ahmed, all the way over there, hi.
Thank you.
So we've got 35 minutes to talk about quite a complex topic, so I'm just going to dive in with my first question to get things going. So I think a great place to start would be to paint a bigger picture, to really contextualize the conversation. So how has the cybersecurity landscape evolved with the advent of emerging technologies like quantum computing, AI, and the metaverse? Adam, I'm going to throw that to you first.
You've heard a lot of these topics today, from the advent of AI, how we can use AI for security purposes, and some of the risks with AI overall around safety. Overall, I think the world's growing more and more complex. You're seeing more transactions on a daily basis, more data being stored throughout the world. Yeah. And yet we're growing more of our security platform and tools globally. We're introducing new techniques to prevent hackers from attacking our data, introducing ransomware across the landscape. But the data shows that we're continually enabling attackers into our networks, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So with the advent of AI, what we're seeing is ultimately the attackers, and what my organization's ultimately doing from a security operations perspective is utilizing AI for gaining context quickly on adversaries and bringing down that mean time to detection, ultimately.
Yeah.
And we're introducing those into our tool sets and then ultimately leveraging them to protect customers globally.
Yeah, it really is quite fascinating just how fast everything's evolved.
Yep.
And companies like Oracle really have to be at the top of their game in order to not only help yourselves, but help customers and businesses as well.
Yep.
Do you guys have anything to add to that question?
I mean, Lucy, maybe, well, first of all, thanks to NCA and the GCF for having me here today. And maybe just to add, I mean, with any technology advancement, there's positives. And as you spoke to, there's the opportunity to go through large sets of data and use it in predictive ways. There's also the challenges that come with that on the other hand. And with AI, it enables the bad actors to be trained up faster. It takes maybe a less skilled individual and allows them to build capabilities that they would otherwise not have been able to. So it increases the threat in many ways.
And go on, Ahmed.
Yeah. First of all, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and really thankful for being here. Thanks for NCA and the Global Cybersecurity Forum for making this happen. And actually, to be honest, I'm terrified.
Yeah.
I'm really terrified. Why? Because I started as a hacker, and I know exactly how hackers are thinking and how devastating they can be. If we live in, for example, a city that everything around us is digital, we have sensory around us, picking things about us and about our personal lives. And for example, I'm thinking about the line being developed in NEOM. I'm responsible over there with the rest of the team led by Mr. Al-Misfer, he's the CISO over there, and the rest of my colleagues. We have the responsibility of protecting this future and protecting the livability of the residents who will come there, the companies that will come, the business that will come there. So actually, I'm terrified because I'm standing on the front end of all the advances that human science and innovation came to. how really we can take it further and protect the future for this. How can I protect the future of my children when AI help them in solving, for example, their homeworks? Are they getting the right education, for example? Are they really developing their skills while the AI itself is helping them? How originality are we keeping in the future generations?
Yeah.
Things like that. But actually, I'm terrified, a little bit terrified.
Yeah, and I think you have a right to be terrified. You know, AI is something that's been around for an incredibly long time, but it's only really kind of really being pushed into the mainstream, I'd say now. I think it might be fair to say that, and it's incredibly complex. And, you know, we're still really only scratching the surface of how we're going to benefit from this technology. Is it going to be detrimental to us? Is it going to be incredibly beneficial? And what is the best way to really balance that, you know? So with that, what would you say are the most important cybersecurity challenges of these emerging technologies? And there's a lot of emerging technologies, but is there anything that stands out to you guys?
I think ultimately right now we have a true opportunity to forward look on post-quantum crypto. That is an emerging topic that's been discussed for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
But we're finally coming to a reality where a large percentage of the tech companies globally are introducing quantum computing, leveraging qubits,
Yes.
and there's a lot of energy in the cybersecurity spectrum through NIST in the US, as well as organizations globally in Germany, as well as in the kingdom here, that are looking at mechanisms to safeguard their data and their encrypted data against threats. NIST just recently announced the selection of PQC algorithms on signing and digital signatures, as well as the encryption mechanisms under the hood, such as Kyber. And although quantum computing isn't breaking our encryption today, it's nice to see that it's not a fear-mongering effect in the cybersecurity spectrum. We're actually taking this as an opportunity rather than as a challenge.
Yeah, so you're seeing things moving in the right direction right now. Yeah, I can see you nodding away, Shantae. Have you got anything to add to that?
Maybe to supplement it, you're talking about the technology aspect of the challenges, and when we think about these emerging technologies, in addition to the technology challenges, there's the people challenge. There's the talent challenges that we all have in the marketplace. So finding ways to overcome the talent challenge, whether it's using AI to substitute for some of the analysts and upskilling the analysts. We talked about that in an earlier session today. Or whether it's putting together proper educational programs. It's going to be very important for the success of the global economy in coming back against some of the risks that are created.
I can expand to what my colleague panelists shared here. Maybe the challenge for us as we are in the leadership right now is how can we lead others through to innovation actually and beyond innovation. You know, we need to look at the problem not only from technology but also from other dimensions, like how us as leadership can we lead others. There's a very interesting study. I think it was conducted by NASA itself. They tried to understand how much innovation, how much percentage of innovation in different age categories. Like, for example, they found in the children of age 5, they have 95% capability to innovate new things. For example, when in age 31, I think it became much less, like 5%. I'm at age 44. I'm wondering how much innovation I can bring to the table. But maybe my responsibility and the challenge on me right now is how can I foster a team that innovates? How can I multiply this within my team? How can I drive them through this journey? And of course, whatever challenges will come in front of us, if we have the right skills, knowledge, and values in our team, in the thinking of our team, In the design thinking, for example, for the future, we can embed cybersecurity from the initial stages of the ideation itself and then drive it through. Like one of the things we are discussing, in the big projects we been developed in NEOM, what's the right ontology of things? How can we bring security in the ontology of things themselves? So there's many challenges, but maybe if I can conclude with this, the challenge on us as the leaders of today to build the future, to lead to the future.
I think a key word just to pull out of what you just said there is team. This is a collaborative effort. You feel that compared to maybe the younger generation, you don't feel as innovative, that you're not as innovating as much, but you are really strong when it comes to leadership. And when you've got so many different facets kind of working together, that's what helps build a stronger environment in order to bolster this technology and in order to make everything and all these emerging technologies more secure. We can't do things by ourselves. We all bring different things to the table. Just want to take it back and go back to talking about AI for a sec. How can AI be effectively leveraged to enhance cybersecurity, and what are the considerations for AI-driven threat detection and response?
So I think AI has been discussed quite a bit, Lucy, throughout today's conference.
Yes, it's an underlying theme.
But I don't think it's a general panacea that we should all fear. It's a tool that we can leverage to better protect our networks as well as our people and data. You're seeing the advent of AI being applied to security operations as well as ultimately, as an example, the supply chain, the supply chain security aspect. At least in the context of many startups globally, what we're seeing is they're looking at mechanisms to perform semantic analysis as well as detect adversaries that are pushing backdoors into the most popular third-party libraries. And they're leveraging that social network graph on vector databases as well as ultimately the database backends and your normalized relational databases.
Yeah.
And so you can use large-scale language models to detect when there's a single developer developing on Log4j as an example, or a developer sitting in country X that your particular country doesn't trust anymore. It gives us the ability to better understand our supply chain that today is more complex than ever and make decisions on that on a real-time basis. And then you can apply that into your build system, so you can evict actors or say, I no longer want to take a dependency on that particular third-party library. And AI is a powerful tool in that context, but it's also a threat intelligence component on the supply chain in this context. So
Like
it's super
AI
helpful.
versus AI, isn't it? But it's like I said, it's this collaborative effort. You use it to enhance, current infrastructure. Anyone got anything to add before I move on?
Yeah. Well, definitely AI has a big role to enhance the cybersecurity, but I think the biggest limit is our imagination. How can we imagine, doing, traditionally we need big space for a SOC. You see, I think through metaverse, for example, and AI, it can be something different, something more innovative.
Yes.
Like breaking the traditional boundaries. One of the things we always say is that if we keep trying to solve modern problems using traditional, methods and solutions, whether it's governance, whether it's policy, whether even the idea of the solution itself, we will never be able to secure the AI nor use the AI itself. But just to name few examples, like if we have this huge supply chain and we need not only to monitor ourselves internally and our digital space, cyberspace, we need to keep an eye on even the supply chain, supplying to us the technology goods or whatever kind of product or service. If we can use AI to pick up anything that's happening there and directly reacting to that, we have only matter of minutes before something bad happens. Even the turnaround time for detection and for reacting to the incident is becoming much shorter. We have much shorter window. I think for the recent studies, it's around 8 minutes just to, as a window to react. As a human, we cannot.
Yeah.
We have to use AI in that.
And that's such a great example of just the power of artificial intelligence and how it can really enhance businesses. Now, you mentioned the metaverse, which segues me in nicely to my next question. Now, of course, the metaverse is this virtual, interconnected digital universe, and it presents, a host of quite unique cybersecurity challenges. With the convergence of all these various technologies that are kind of living within this digital world. So what unique cybersecurity challenges does the metaverse present? And what security measures are necessary to protect users and their data in these virtual environments? Who wants to go?
One of the earliest, metaverses is called Second Life. It's a game. I think, sadly, and you will be very lucky if you pass the first 5 seconds without being bullied or harassed in Second Life. And this is one of the challenges. Like, we can, as a cybersecurity, we can protect the infrastructure, but who will protect the individuals inside that digital world?
Yeah.
A human-to-human interaction is something that very important in my opinion. And we can use the emerging technology to protect emerging technology itself, like the idea of using decentralized digital identities inside the metaverse itself. You see, once this person is identified, of course, will behave much better than without identity, I think. But still, not only cybersecurity experts should work to protect this new technology. Even other domains should also contribute to protecting like the police, for example. Making sure that the morals of people interacting inside this digital space is at good level.
Well, that's just it. I think in the real world, obviously, we know when we do things wrong, we've got police, we've got law enforcement in place and, punishments for people that do bad. But I think in the virtual world, we haven't, there's nothing there at the moment. You can be bullied, you can be beaten up, you can, all types of things can happen. And sometimes we brush it under the carpet. Oh, so, it's digital. But it's like, no, eventually our digital lives are merging with the physical and, these experiences really need to be regulated and there needs to be some kind of enforcement in place that's going to punish people or reprimand them for the negative behavior that they enforce in these environments. Yeah.
I think, at least me personally, I grew up in the advent of the internet where it allowed innovation, a lot of freedom, a lot of independence to hack, like my fellow panelists. I grew up as a hacker in the underground. I know when things can go awry, but I think there's further discussions today around cyber paths. Ultimately, we all need a little bit of exploration and independence to innovate and look for opportunities to build new tools on top of protecting our citizens within the metaverse.
Yeah.
So to take an example on Second Life became extremely important and ultimately popular because it enabled hacking. It enabled that conversation without a domination of regulation within that space.
Yeah.
Where it was almost like a tit for tat game in the metaverse within Second Life, where they built in regulation, they enabled users where they felt safe in different ecosystems, and if users broke that trust, they are cordoned off into an area that they could ultimately have some freedom that wouldn't disrupt other users. And so within the metaverse, I think there's not going to be a one-size-fits-all within a safety domain. You're going to have to look at a metaverse of metaverses, so to speak, and it's going to give users choice and opportunities for innovation. And you're seeing that, at least in the context of social media. There's an explosion of social media networks, and I think we're going to see this within the metaverse as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything to add?
Well, go ahead, please.
No, go please.
metaverse has its negative things, but also it's contributing, I think, very greatly to the advancements. Like for example, having doing or doing school experiments in a metaverse. Imagine that. This will not only cut cost on schools and education, but it will also give everybody or students the chance to have this experience, in a very safe environment. Like how chemicals will react with each other. Imagine this in schools. I think this is a very fantastic idea.
Would have made my education a lot more exciting, that's for sure. So Shante, my next question's for you. What are the potential challenges that might arise from the uneven adoption and control of emerging technologies, particularly when it comes to cross-border contexts?
It's an interesting question, and a really interesting word that's in the question. So when I hear control in the context of cross-border scenarios, I think regulations. And as we all know, regulations lag adoption in many cases. And so when there's uneven adoption and uneven control of emerging technologies, the potential exists to create market confusion for companies as they are trying to navigate various market requirements around the globe. And as they're trying to navigate these market requirements, it can create an issue of equity of access for particular citizens in geographies as well, while also creating competitive imbalances for companies and countries as well. So the implications of an uneven adoption really run the gamut, and they stretch from the citizens to the companies from a commercial perspective as well as to the countries as well. In the absence of regulations, I'm always a proponent of frameworks and standards. We have a wide variety of frameworks and standards today in the cybersecurity market, and there's really been a waterfall. I think we were speaking about it before in the green room, really a waterfall of regulations just in the last 12 to 18 months in the space. But because of this, UL Solutions, the company that I work for, we've long been a supporter of harmonization. And so global harmonization is really what's going to allow companies to navigate the adoption of standards around the world and allow for access by the citizens so that there aren't the equity concerns or the competition issues in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, while we're in the realm of regulation, what are the key considerations for governments in developing adaptable regulatory frameworks that really foster innovation while addressing concerns related to data privacy, cybersecurity, job displacement? Ahmed, I'm going to throw that at you. Given your insights on cybersecurity, GRC, and regulatory frameworks, it'd be great to hear from you on this.
So I think there's a fundamental challenge because regulations usually work well in asymmetric world, like establishing the baseline that every infrastructure or organization should operate on. But the problem is, fundamentally, cyberspace and emerging technology are so disruptive. They are making the world, they are pushing the world to asymmetric, nature. How can you protect something that is, flying object like a drone? There's no cable from here to the drone. It's all waves in the air. How can you protect that, for example? And I think, having more than 19 year of experience just in crafting policy and frameworks and trying to use automation as much as possible. I think there's no framework as of now that can protect this emerging technology. We are learning as we go. We're trying to protect as we go. But one of the issues, for example, one of the studies expects that next year, around 60% of the employees will start using AI in their work, if not already. You see, are we ready from policy for this should we allow our employees to use AI? What are the implications of that? Everything is going into data, and how can we protect this data? How can we enable our employees to benefit from this powerhouse of AI tools? And I think we should start from now exploring this area. There's, we used to say, bring your own device, but next year we'll say, bring your own AI. Think about that. Everybody is using AI in their digital, phones or smartphones, or even in their work. How can we regulate that? How can we protect the data? How much data can we allow our employees to put in AI? Of course, for me, I'm always feel much safer if I have more control, enforcement around that. But still, there's also an issue that, do you know that AI itself, or generative AI itself, can hallucinate, can fake information for you? And this is really proven. If you take a fake website and you give it to ChatGPT and you ask a question, you will receive an answer, even if the website does not exist. AI hallucinates, it's hallucination. And this is very, very dangerous, because if we become dependent on AI, how can we judge whether the AI itself is reliable? And this brings us to the point of, AI explains to us the steps of, solving the problem or generating the answer itself. So this is what I think.
Yeah. And do you think it's down to the kind of convoluted and multi-layered nature of all these emerging technologies as to why we're not really nailing this regulatory framework yet? Kind of to your point, there's kind of not a one-size-fits-all, but regulation really needs to happen because the technology is moving at such a fast pace. We need to make sure that we're protected in all senses of the word.
Yeah.
I think.
Go ahead, Adam.
I'll keep it short and I'll pass it to you. I think regulation should occur for the security of our critical systems, as well as the safety of our users. But we should be wary about how fast we want to push regulation on top of AI or large language models. I think right now we're just in the midst of innovation. And if we start pushing regulation too quickly, you're going to end up in a world where there's going to be that lack of adoption or lack of ability for a country to ultimately intake that technology. And there's going to be that varied approach ultimately. So at least what we're doing at Oracle is we're giving enough platform tools for our enterprise users globally to make the decisions on how they want to regulate the data that they have in their ecosystem, giving them flexibility. Because flexibility is ultimately the key that we want to provide.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I think maybe two comments. One on what you just said. I think there's a reason. There's many reasons, right? There's many reasons that regulations lag innovation and adoption. And one of those reasons is because if you put regulations in place and the ecosystem understands that too soon, then you'll stop innovation and you'll stop the technology from reaching its potential and its capability. And so what the overall ecosystem around technology creation and adoption has to think about is, what is the right time? What is the right time to introduce framework standards, regulations into an environment? And we talk a lot, now to Ahmed's comment earlier, we talk a lot about the technology, the technical requirements that are going to exist in regulation. And there's also this ethical piece that maybe us as technicians don't think about all the time. I know you do, because I've heard you mention it many times in today's conversation, which is wonderful. But we do need to think about how we are going to manage through, and I know that there's many big brains thinking around this already, but how do we manage through all of the ethical considerations as well?
Yeah. Go on, Ahmed.
I think, regulations will not solve everything.
No.
Because there's a value dimension that we need to preserve, you know, especially for our kids when they go into an uncontrolled metaverse. You know, it all comes back to us as human beings as having values, cultural values, or religious values, etc. You know, how can we, you know, values cannot be regulated by frameworks. It's something that goes back to the education, parenting, for example. So we have to solve this problem from multi-dimensions, not only from regulations. We can secure servers, no problem about, but how can we secure the human? You know, we always say that humans are the weakest link. I don't like that, but literally we have to work on the human element in this ecosystem.
Yeah, so to your point about, you know, education is education that needs to happen. What steps or what better steps can be taken to educate and train individuals and organizations on cybersecurity best practices and all the unique threats that come along with all these emerging technologies? What can be done in this department, do you think?
I think one really fortunate thing about new and emerging areas is the people and the individuals that are attracted to it. The people that are attracted are people that are individuals that are very curious, lifelong learners, individuals that are constantly seeking knowledge, problem solvers, individuals that like to solve problems and like to solve puzzles, which leads to the innovation that you talked about earlier. And so that's wonderful. Those are critical aspects of education, because at the end of the day, we are all responsible for the ownership of our own learning and development journey. And so I think that first and foremost is important to note. Once you have individuals in place and once individuals are attracted to a particular domain that are knowledge seekers, that are lifelong learners, that are problem solvers, there's a number of resources available to support these individuals and organizations to better understand cybersecurity, for example. Using that as an example, in the US, the National Institute of Standards and Technologies offers a number of technical documents and standards, such as the NIST Cybersecurity Framework and the Cyber Essentials Toolkit to support it. If we zoom out and we think more from the global environment, you have the Global Cyber Alliance and the Cyber Readiness Institute that offer free cybersecurity training for small businesses, addressing some of that equity conversation that was alluded to earlier, and then testing, certification, inspection organizations like UL Solutions and the International Society of Automation offer trainings, personnel qualifications, certificate programs to support. And then honestly, forums like the one we're in today, these are fantastic, right? They build communities, they allow us to exchange ideas, and they allow us to learn and grow together. And so these forums are also incredibly important.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. You guys like to add anything?
I think she nailed it.
No, well, we're nearly out of time, guys. So I'm just going to wrap up our conversation. My final question to you is, you know, how can international cooperation and collaboration, you know, back to this key theme of collaboration that we've been talking about, how can this help establish common cybersecurity standards and norms in the face of global challenges that are posed by all these emerging technologies? So final thoughts.
I think ultimately we need to strengthen more and more of our partnerships. I think we're doing that today through combating child safety on the internet, as an example. I think we're doing a lot already. We could do even more on stopping ransomware attacks. So we're setting these standards, but I think it extends beyond just the standard body. We need to start looking at partnerships. A large percentage of private enterprises are hosting a large percentage of our data, such as the Googles of the world, even Oracle as an example. It creates that opportunity for public-private partnership, and I just want to thank GCF and the NCA for allowing us to participate, and I'm looking forward to future collaboration. Yeah,
absolutely. This is a brilliant example of that international collaboration that we're just talking about. Shantae, would you like to add anything?
I think I spoke earlier about the importance of frameworks and standards introduced at the right time into an ecosystem. And once they're introduced, what's important is that we begin to see baseline standards that kind of bubble to the top. And we're beginning to see that, for example, in industrial IoT with IEC 62443, and in consumer IoT with EN 303645. And so adoption, though, of those baseline standards is still somewhat fragmented. And at the same time, when they are adopted, there's additions and there's deviations that are created along with them. Those additions and deviations are absolutely necessary. There's reasons and there's a purpose for them. What we need to be able to do is then map those back to the baseline so it's readily visible how these anomaly requirements actually map back.
Yeah.
And so there's organizations out there that can support that. IEC, ISO, ISA, those organizations, those standards bodies create great forums for the collaboration and the cooperation to really align around those. And I think that's going to be critical moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And last but not least, Ahmed, let's hear from you.
Yeah. Maybe I can contribute to my esteemed panelists here. Like, this is a new domain, but it's really in closed doors or behind closed doors. It's not a public domain knowledge. It's not well supported by open source. So we have very limitation in this area. So maybe if it can be supported by open source being also provided to the public, so everybody can play with it, can experience it. We reach to this point only after long journey of trial and error. If this advanced technologies, emerging technologies being developed behind closed doors, I understand the confidentiality and the intellectual property behind that. But the real advancement is when everybody can play with it, can practice it, and this will generate knowledge lots faster, more faster than the traditional research.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that note, I'd like to thank my all knowledgeable panelists. Thank you so much for taking the time, for sharing your insights and expertise. Please, round of applause for these guys. They did an amazing job. Thank you. There's we're moving in the right direction. So much incredible things are happening in this space, but still a lot of work to be done. But the positive to take away is that we are moving in the right direction, and that can only be a good thing. So thank you once again. All right, and thank you.